Hey guys, Dr. Plague here. Has ditching your bad habit been on your to-do list for a while? Well, I'm happy to bring you today's sponsor, Fume. Fume has a great ergonomic design. It feels familiar in the hand, and it's just a lot of fun to use. It's easy too. You just slip in the cartridge, pop it in, and you're good to go. No smoke, no batteries, just a tasty blast of air whenever you need it. I'm quite partial to the mint myself, but it comes in many fun flavors. There's no cleaning, no recharging, and it's there when you need it, wherever you need it. There's no smoke, no added chemicals, and it's really just a great alternative to whatever might be holding your chain these days. Plus, it comes with this cool little magnetic base, which is just... wow, I really enjoyed it more than I thought I would. So, if you're interested in kicking your habit, go check out Fume today, and go ahead and use my code so they know that I sent you. And thanks to Fume for supporting the channel. My eyes slowly opened. The soft, slightly sticky warmth of my modest one-bedroom apartment hung like an oppressive reminder that I, as an unemployed and nearly penniless tenant, couldn't afford to turn on my air conditioning. I'd fallen asleep in a slump against the old brown leather couch in the living room. Again. I groaned as my body shifted into place, stretching my legs and arms about, feeling them wake up as I did. July in Georgia is not forgiving, and it certainly took no prisoners. The hours I had whittled away, I spent largely just laying around, hoping my email notification would go off regarding a potential job. This cycle had been ongoing for about a week or two, and honestly made time seem even more warped. My mind berated me. Was I doing enough? Should I be burning through my very nearly non-existent savings like this? I shouldn't be picky. I should just go get whatever job I can. Beggars can't be choosers, you know. Attempting to shake off the mental fog, I got up quickly from the couch, walked over to the mini-fridge against the adjacent wall, and took out an ice-cold soda. Placing the cold can against my head, I sighed, having momentary relief and trying to reassure myself that I was making the right decision. I deserve the right job. I have the experience. I have the skill set. I shouldn't just settle. One of these opportunities will pan out. I just know it. Feeling a renewed sense of vigor, I turned to my phone, charging on the tablet that sat beside the couch. I nabbed it up and looked at the screen to see the time, 4:37 p.m., and nothing else but my screensaver, some generic mountain range captured at dusk that always made me feel nostalgic for a place I'd never been. I let out another sigh and glanced around the space, the warm living quarters, and thought about how to kill the rest of my day. That's when I heard it, outside my apartment window. A lady's voice, fairly young, exuberant, happy, slightly wrong. "I see you, peekaboo, I see you," she said. Sounded like she was talking to a kid, maybe even a baby. I was half tempted to pull back the curtains and scan the lawn to see, but I thought if she was there and some weird dude started staring at her, well, that'd be awkward. I'm not overly familiar with my neighbors in the apartment across the way, but I'd never seen a kid or a baby, and I'd never heard a voice like that before. To a normal person, you'd think, why is a lady talking to a baby weird? And you know, I'd agree with you, but I'd spent too much time indoors with nothing but my own mind to keep me company. And I'm sure you can guess that leads to heightened anxiety. Christopher, get a hold of yourself, dude. Spent too many days sitting in this apartment, moping around. Now, some lady's talking to a baby, and it's got you freaked out. I let out a chuckle at myself for being stupid. What a dumbass. I cracked the soda open and took a gulp, letting the carbonation and sugar simultaneously burn and soothe my throat. I let out a hearty ah afterwards, and it seemed to amuse me. I finished the soda and another 2 gulps, walked over to the trash can situated near the sink, and chucked it in. Walking back into the living room, I noticed there was no longer any game of peekaboo being cooed outside my window, and all had returned to normal and uninteresting silence. With that, I turned my attention back to my phone, deciding I would manually check my emails. Sometimes the notifications didn't always work as intended, and I was desperate for some sign of forward momentum. As I placed my finger over the email icon on my home screen, the exuberant, joyful, and even a little warped voice rang out again. "I see you! Peekaboo, I see you!" This time it wasn't coming from behind me, beyond the curtained window. It was coming from my porch, right behind my front door. I stared in confusion in that direction. What in the hell? I could feel anxiety, anxious energy surging through my body. My mind wasn't sure how to process the voice or what was happening. Why is the voice at my door? Why does it sound like that? Tried to quickly rationalize it. Maybe she was waiting for a friend across the way. The Carolwoods, I think. Maybe she's friends or family or something. It's hot, and she's got her baby and is trying to keep him calm or entertained. My brain was rooting around, trying to red yarn its way to some conclusion that made the voice that was now just past my front door less out of place, less strange. "Get it together," I said. Then it hit me. I was dramatizing a situation because I was bored and not very productive. Of course, duh, I chuckled again at my own stupidity. I'm going to go to my room and watch TV. The fan blows better in there anyway, and I'll be away from the ladies' annoying blabbering. I'm not scared. I'm just annoyed, that's all. I lied to make myself feel less like a wuss who was evading a strange scenario and more like someone who was choosing to avoid an obnoxious situation. I sat up and quickly walked down the hall, the ladies disorderly, joyful, and robotic "I see you" fading away. Upon entering my modest room, which housed a bed, a sofa chair, a small closet, and a smaller bathroom, I shut the door and, out of some animal-born sense of security, I locked it. I plopped down in the sofa chair and quickly booted up my TV and launched Netflix. I was paranoid about nothing. I knew that, but stranger things have happened, and I wasn't going to assume I was safe. Despite not being able to hear the lady anymore, I cranked the volume over my usual listening threshold. I sat back and began to watch a documentary on panda preserves. Before I knew it, my eyes had grown heavy and my body and mind had given themselves over to sleep yet again. Sometime later, I jolted awake, the dark room and the TV off due to its power save setting. What had woken me was the soft pulsation of my phone as it vibrated. The caller ID read "Mom." I stared at it, half out of grogginess, half out of cowardice. Do I want to talk to her? Or, as it usually goes with my mother, do I want to be talked at by her? I decided against answering. I was already feeling annoyed at myself enough. I didn't need a good old dogpiling from my mother to top it all off. Plus, I had to pee. God, did I have to pee. I got up and hustled the few short steps into the connecting bathroom, flicked on the lights, and as I was about to unbuckle my pants, from past the door to my bedroom came the voice. It was the lady's voice, Joyful, sweet, energetic, loud, and very, very wrong. "I see you! Peekaboo! I see you!" There was no denying it now. The voice sounded human, but it wasn't. It was slightly warped, as if the edges of it were being warped, as if the mouth forming them was too misshapen to form them right, as if the voice projecting them was doing its best to mock it. My mind raced. This seemed unbelievable. This was absolutely less than 3 feet away, inside my apartment. Why was it doing this to me? I blinked hard and gathered what resolve I had. It didn't matter what or why this was happening. It just was. And I could safely conclude that whatever it was intending to scare me, or worse, to hurt me. I had my phone. I could call 911. That was step 1. Step 2, I had a baseball bat in my closet. I grabbed that and ready myself. Step 3, I had a small window that dropped down into the courtyard. It was on the 2nd floor, but I could manage the jump, I think. That's all I could think to do. With all the bluster and bravado I could muster, I quickly moved to the sofa chair and grabbed my phone, and made my way to open the closet and grab the bat, all in a few swift movements. All the while, the lady was cooing the same phrase over and over again on a loop, no more than 5 feet away. I wrestled with the lock on the bedroom window. It wasn't playing nice. I didn't think I'd ever opened it in the 4 years that I'd lived here, and it obviously hadn't been opened long before then. After struggling with the latch for what felt like eternity, it gave way. Then it proceeded to push up on the window. Luckily, it went flying up without much resistance, and as I pushed it up, it made a hard slamming sound. As if on cue when that happened, the chanting from the lady outside the door stopped. It was dead silent. The only discernible sound was my breathing, the night air flowing in and bringing with it the sounds of crickets and cicadas. I sat by the open window, wide-eyed, staring directly into the dinky lit room and laser-focused on the bedroom door. From beneath the door frame, an impossibly long arm silently began to stretch in. Skin pale, almost blue in the light, vascular, the fingers long, bony, and dressed in rings against their bulking knuckles. The fingernails, longer still and adorned in crimson polish that almost seemed to glow in the drearily lit bedroom. The impossibly long arm effortlessly stretched up until its index finger touched the lock on the doorknob, as if waiting just a beat to heighten the tension. It clicked the lock. The door was unlocked. This lady could swing the door open, and whatever it was could cross the threshold into the room and come for me. I had to jump. The risk of breaking my leg be damned. I didn't want to see what ghoulish visage that arm belonged to. I steeled my nerves and jumped the 12 or so feet to the grassy courtyard below. I landed with a hard thud, but I didn't lose my balance. My adrenaline rushing, I made a hasty dash towards the center of the small complex. My legs were firing like pistons. I gunned it to the nearest light source, which happened to be a small gazebo. Then my fight-or-flight responses loosened enough for me to think, I gotta call the cops. As I approached the small structure, which was bathed in a harsh and singular white light, I pivoted to look back at my apartment window. No hand, no creature, no nothing. Just an open window. But what could I expect to see? Some ghoulish, haunting leer that came from the darkened opening? Some unholy visage, all teeth and elongated appendages, coaxing me back? What was going on with me? Was I having some sort of breakdown? Had the stress and the loneliness gotten to me? That was certainly a better explanation than what I was thinking was happening, right? I sighed, plopped down hard on the only bench housed under the gazebo, and unlocked my phone. I had a notification, an email. I knew no matter, now wasn't the time. I needed to call the police. I needed to make sure my apartment was clear. If I was having a mental breakdown, I could get help. I needed this, whatever it was, to be over. But, you know, that often unseen hand that guides us to make the most inane decisions at the wrong moment? Yeah, that one. That force propelled me to click on the email notification. God damn it, I wish I hadn't. It took me to a video. The video was dark, quiet, as if nothing was even playing, but then a loud static and the sounds of hands fumbling around as the frame was jilted and shook. And then, as if lit with a small and barely effective flashlight, a mouth plastered with a wry grin appeared. But, as with the voice, it was wrong. It was too wide, with far too many small teeth. The lips were thin and smeared with crimson lipstick, the same shade as the fingernails I'd seen just a moment ago. Then it began to move, to speak. I see you, peekaboo. I see you. I felt my body flush with fear, confusion, anger. What the hell was happening? I tried to exit. I tried shutting my phone's power off, but nothing worked. I instinctively and forcefully dropped the phone. The mantra was on a disturbing repeat. The lady's joyous and warped voice, a disgusting lullaby I had to get away from. Whatever ungodly force had decided to visit me was breaking the bounds of reality and anything I understood. Neighbors, my mind yelled at me. Go to the Carolwoods. Ask to use their phone. Call 911. Figure this shit out. Go! I spurred myself into action, running out from beneath the gazebo and towards the other two-story apartment complex, directly across from mine, navigating the dimly lit walkway up to their door. I didn't have concern for etiquette or what time it was. I was in pure self-preservation mode. I knocked on their door as loud as I could. What's the wife's name? Denise, Desiree, something with a D. I simultaneously scolded myself while trying to recall the woman's name. Her husband, who I'd only met once in passing, was a complete stranger. Before I could deliberate any further, the porch light popped on and a voice from behind the door wavered out at me. It was a man, the aforementioned husband. What the hell do you want? I'm so sorry to bother you, Mr. Carolwood, but someone broke into my house and I don't have my cell and I'm worried. I need to call the cops. I live across the way in Unit 17. He cut me off. Yeah, Christian, right? He said, his tone less unsure and worried and now more curious than annoyed. Christopher, I responded back hurriedly while throwing another glance at my apartment unit. Another voice, quieter, came out from behind him. A woman. Christopher, honey? Yeah, you sound scared. Let me get you some help. Thank God, Buddha, Shiva, Elvis, who the fuck ever. I sighed. I felt a wave of uncertain hope wash over me. The door unlatched and swung open to reveal a dark opening, one that seemed to stretch into a void. There was no one there. No Mr. Carolwood. No Mrs. Carolwood. Just a dark hallway and a voice that loudly reached from just beyond its bounds. I see you, peekaboo. I see you, Christopher. As quickly as I had felt hope, I felt my body give itself over to absolute terror. I spun around and attempted to run, but that long, pale blue arm, the one with its nails adorned in a bright, glowing crimson polish and wrapped its unnatural fingers all the way around my calf. I fell hard on the "we're so glad you're here" welcome mat that decorated the front porch of the Carolwoods. I managed to turn my body around to see the arm that was pulling me into the void. I couldn't see the creature it was attached to. I didn't want to. I needed to fight. I needed to get loose. But I was being dragged by force so strong, any attempt I made to swing my bat or kick was met with pure indifference. This is it, my mind raced. My heart thrashed inside my chest so hard I felt like I'd have a heart attack or worse, die of fear. I swung the bat. I yelled. I cursed. It was no use. I was being drawn into the maw of this entity, this being, this thing. I'd shut my eyes and waited to die. I stopped moving. I didn't feel the hand on my leg anymore. I felt warm. I jolted awake. I was in my apartment. The sticky heaviness of the room, just as it had been hours before. The golden light from the afternoon poured in through what cracks it could. What the hell? I thought. Did I just dream that? As I straightened my stiff and slightly aching body up and coming to grips with the absolute deja vu, a voice rang out from down the hall, this time slow and loud, and just past the threshold of my sight. "Peekaboo, I see you." Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. I'm glad you made it to the end of the story. Thanks for stopping by. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, well, there should be some links popping up at the end of this to other great stories, maybe even some great playlists that you can discover. We update 7 nights a week, so there's always something new and something spooky waiting for you on the channel. If you like your spooky a little more tactile, there should be some links to Amazon down in my description, so go have a look over there. It should get you to all my latest books. Speaking of books, I've got my first horror novel, Towsy Homestead, available for purchase on Amazon. It's my first horror novel, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd go give it a look and maybe give it a buy too. If you'd like to support the channel, we have a subscription program here on YouTube, but we've also got a Patreon with lots of tiers and lots of different rewards. For example, our Spooky Skeleton contributors get their spooky 12 hours early. That's right, they get their videos at 8:30 a.m. as opposed to 8:30 p.m. Ghostly Reader tier contributors, that's a tier that's only available on Patreon, I'm afraid, get a book anytime I write one, signed and on their doorstep, hopefully in a timely manner. So, however you support the channel, whether it's monetarily or by enjoying our great videos here, thank you so much. Speaking of patrons, before we go, let's go ahead and thank them. Thanks to Sara, Unicorn Hollow, JustAmy, and Cinnamon Fox for being our spooky ghost contributors. Thanks to Shannon McGhee, Janet, Lee Kendall, Ronda J, Sue Casper, Valinar, CleoHarperReturns, Sara, and Queen Sheebah for being our spooky skeleton contributors. And thanks to Oh Snap, Winter, Xaronan, Stephanie Carrington, Tyler Parker, Grim Reaper, TomBoiTopUwU, Queen Sheebah, MissNewBooty, and Alex Connor for being our Ghostly Reader tier contributors. Thanks, everyone. We just couldn't do the show without you. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.